So according to my research, he has 14 producer credits, 13 writer credits, 4 director credits, and that's not even including the acting. Can you all welcome to the stage Noel Clarke? So, no, I'm going to get straight into it because we've got so much to get through today. How does being involved behind the camera compare to being involved in front of the camera? Because by all those credits I just said there, you're just as interested in the other side of things as much as you are in being an actor.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it came necessarily from the interest. For me, I feel like it came from the necessity of it, you know, because I think if this country was in a place where people could literally be an actor and get by in life, then everybody wouldn't leave, like David and Idris and Lenny and all the people that left. They wouldn't leave if back then, you know, because I've been doing this now since '98, so
it's an OG.
I'm now an OG. I've got 19 years. Some of these guys are probably 19 themselves. So, you know, back when I started, it wasn't really a case of the opportunities weren't there. Like, I see this today and like I'm amazed, and the opportunities weren't there. And so I realized very early on that if I was even gonna be able to, if I was gonna be a lucky person and actually get a mortgage as opposed to rent for my whole life, I was gonna have to make sure that I did something other than just sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring to get an acting job. But actually I was gonna be proactive and not reactive and start writing things myself.
So was it like a primal instinct to get involved in the other side of things, or was there always that kind of desire to do that in the back of your mind and it just kind of got brought
Necessity
forward by
is survival of the fittest. Like, when I started acting, all I ever wanted to do since I was a kid was act. It's a long story how I got into it, but those of you that have read any interviews or seen interviews know I got into acting. I was lucky, got into acting, even though it's what I always wanted to do. But I realized very early on, I was like, okay, I'm only getting scripts that are like Crook #3 or
nameless stereotypes,
Teeth #1 or something like that, you know. And then the time you get, and I've said this before, the time, you know, one day my agent's like, I've got a script and the character's got a name. I'm like, yes, the character's got a name.
A lot of reaction to that.
Yes, I was like, yes, man, he's got a name. It's gonna be, what's his name? Jacob's a name, wicked. And the first line is like, open the safe. And you're like, nah, come on. So I was like, I need to start writing my own stuff. It's not that it can't be in that world, as you know, some of my films were in that world because that's where I'm from, like West London, where I grew up. But I was like, I need to show the experience from a leading role, not like a nameless bully who is one-dimensional and you don't understand why they behave the way they behave. You don't understand they were raised by a single mother. You don't understand that you know, because, you know, and that's not to say that always happens. I was raised by a single mother and I'm sitting here, so, but a lot of my friends and a lot of the things I saw, things turned out differently, and I started writing about what I was living in my area.
So you've never had any formal training in either acting or producing or being a director, but yet you've won awards, you've won BAFTA awards. How do you go about that journey without any training at all? How did you do it?
There's no right answer. I wish it was as simple as me going, it's this, and everyone could go, bing, and then you could all do it. I would love that. But there's no right answer. The one thing I will say is an innate ability to not give a fuck about what people think about you. Like, you got to pay your bills. Like, the person next to you is not going to pay your bills in the next 10 years unless you're literally sitting with your mum. I don't know who's up there with them. Right. They could be your good friend. They could be your best friend. You are going to have to pay your bills. So you are going to have to do things. You are going to have to strive. You are going to have to get things there. There's an innate drive that you need to have that a lot of people don't even realize they don't have. You know, sometimes I do talks at drama school and I'll sit there with the actors and they're all sitting there and I'll be like, you guys realize that 95% of us are not working. Actors that come out are not working. And they'll all be sitting there like, man, that's not going to be me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm telling you, that means all of you here now, not you guys, this is what I say to them, the actors, I say, all of you here now, you have to realize, like, only 3 of you are actually probably going to work. I'm like, and the difficulty is most of you don't even realize yet that you don't have the drive to succeed because you're protected during drama school. It's when you come out, then it's like, who's going to put up and who's going to shut up? Who's going to be the people that's going to go, okay, this is hard, I need to make it myself? And who are going to people be like, I went drama school, let me just sit down and see what happens. Phone's going to ring. Phone's going to ring.
Did you ever have that moment? I know you didn't go to drama
Phone's
school.
Gonna ring. Phone's going to ring.
It's not ringing, is it?
Phone's not ringing. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, I was like determined to, every opportunity I got, someone gave me the opportunity to write. I didn't just go, oh, thank you for the opportunity to write. I was like, learn how to write.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's been your learning curve? Because obviously, most people that are in the industry, I've heard you say, you know, when you direct, you make your own notes. I don't always show people because they're your own chaotic way.
Yeah.
You didn't go to film school, so you don't want a film school guy saying that's not the way we do it.
Yeah.
So they've obviously had their learning curve maybe at film school, and then they get out into the real world, but you started in the real world and you've had your own real journey.
I've just learned.
What's been your learning curve?
My learning curve has been learning on the job. You know, what you're talking about is like, so directors, any decent director will kind of have a shot, you know, they'll make shot lists, they might have storyboards, you don't necessarily need them, it depends how you work. But you'll know what you're doing. You'll get on set and it's not like you're just gonna go and your crew goes, right, what you doing? You're like, I don't know, you know, but I was thinking maybe, you can't do that. You have to get on there and be prepared. The way I do my notes, I don't know if it's the way film school people do their notes because I didn't go to film school. So sometimes I get a bit ashamed to show people. So my process is my process. So like I'll only share it with my DP and the first assistant, and I won't show nobody else because I don't want no film school guy going, you see the way my guy does his notes. Like, I don't need that. I make my films, I do my thing. I don't need you telling me and putting any sort of madness in my head. So
have you had those experiences then where somebody's maybe made you doubt yourself and your own way of doing things?
Yeah, 100%. People make you doubt yourself. I've had that. But like I said, you either have that innate ability. Never be afraid to be an individual. That's the key thing. Like, people will always make you doubt yourself. They will question your ability. Do not ever let them question your work rate, ever. Like, you outwork everybody. That's always my thing. I know actors that are 4 or 5 times better than me, and they ain't achieved not even a quarter of what I've done.
Because they don't have the drive.
They do not have the drive. They do not have the work rate. And I'm willing for you to sit there and go, yeah, I'm number one. You keep sitting there, you keep thinking that and see what happens. Because I promise you, I'm on your shoulder. And what I used to do is, and I told him, where's my man Stevie? Yo, I'm mentoring this guy here. He's going to be a big actor one day. Stevie, my man, by the way. I didn't know he was here today. This is a coincidence. But I told him when I met him, I used to have targets. I used to put an actor on the wall, someone that was getting the roles that I wanted. And it wasn't a hating thing. I wasn't not supporting them. I still supported them. But I was like, I'm not going to rest until I go to an audition and I see that guy's name on the list that I'm there, or I see him in the room. And that was always my goal. And I did everything I could. I worked hard in every single way. I practiced every day. I did this, I did that. Went to auditions, I smashed it. Even if I didn't get the job, I could never leave an audition and they say he was terrible. Not happening. I smashed it. If I didn't get it, I wasn't right. And one day, I went into an audition. I won't say his name because
that was my question.
No.
Who is it?
I'm friends with him, actually, so I won't say his name. And it was never a hating thing. It's not about hating. It's about, I admire that person. He's doing the roles I want. It's not about hating. You got to take that out of your mind. It's about, you got to pay your bills for sure, but it's about how can I get there? And one day I went to an audition and he was there, sitting there. And I said hello to him, blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm a big admirer of your work. We're now friends years later. But when I left that audition, I was like, no, I never want to see you again. Nah, but listen, it's really about, I've done that. I've met you. Now I got to go here. And I got to pass you. Went home, took off the picture. Bam, who's the next target? And keep working. And that's what you have to do.
I like that. We agree. We'll go home and do that later. We all want to hear about Kidnap Hood, don't we? How on earth did you get that off the ground? Just straight into it. How did it happen?
Oh, man. I mean, that film is just it's the bane of my life, if I'm honest. I'll be real with you.
I know, but everyone wants to talk about it.
Okay, so I was just sitting at home and I was teaching myself to write. And I was just writing scripts. And I just wrote that film because that was a film that related to me and my friends in West London growing up. Literally half of the film is me and my friends. Real conversations, real things that happen. It was even shot in the flat that I used to live in. And then the stuff with the uncle and all that is all movie stuff that came in after. But literally that film is based on me and my two friends, one of which I'm still good friends with right now. And nobody wanted to make it. No studio heads, no distributor, nobody wanted to do it. And in the end, it was privately financed. We had this producer called George Isaac who managed to raise the money, and it was privately financed.
Can you tell me what the budget was for that first movie, just so people have an idea of
560,000.
It's a lot of money.
It's really not. You know what? I'm sure any of us
Not
would like
in
that in our
movie
back
terms.
pocket. I take that all day long in my back pocket. But in terms of making a movie, that's not a lot of money.
So how did the sequel then come about?
The sequel was a distributor saw the first film, and in fact, nobody wanted to make a sequel. There wasn't a plans for a sequel. There was one film, and then nothing was happening. It got written, I wrote it, and nobody paid me to write it. Nobody commissioned it. Nobody said, "Oh, you done that one, it was good, do another one." I literally had loads of other scripts that I was pitching. Oh, look at this guy, he's a lawyer. Nah. Okay, look, what about this guy? He's a black guy, but he's a doctor. Nah. Okay, this guy's an accountant, but he's a secret agent. Nah. All right. I said, did I say doctor? Because I meant dealer. Oh, yeah, here's some money. Let me just give you some. That's how they were carrying on. They wanted the same old stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So I wrote a load of different films, loads of different things, wedding rom-coms, a film about 4 girls that ended up getting made later, but I wrote that before.
Fast Girls?
4321.
Oh, 4321.
Was written before Adulthood. And I just wrote loads of different things, and nobody wanted to make any of them. They were like, no, you see that thing you did with the bat and the hood? I was like, yeah. They were like, do it again. And I was like, but I'm more than that. They were like, yeah, but see, it made money, so we want you to do another one. And I refused. So I then realized I had no money. So I wrote it. And the distributor made it, and it blew up. And then
So you told
won a
me
BAFTA.
earlier that when you went up to collect your BAFTA, your bank account was empty.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that?
See, how did I feel? I didn't feel anything because I didn't grow up with a lot of money. So it wasn't like a big thing for me. But it just shows you reality versus perception. It's like we made adulthood in the November whatever year, November 2007. Right, check this out. So we made Adulthood November. So I was doing a bit of Doctor Who, so I had a little bit of cash here and there, right? But then I finished Doctor Who and I wasn't working. Did Adulthood in November 07. The film came out June 08. The BAFTA was February 09. So now you're looking at 15 months. I've not really worked. Apart from that film, I've not really worked. Nobody was giving me acting jobs because I came out of Doctor Who, and sometimes when you come out a big show like that, people like associate you with that, so they don't want to put you in. A lot of people that do soaps have that problem as well. So when I went up on that stage to collect that award, my bank account was empty. And that's the reality versus the perception. The suit was given to me because you were nominated, so you get given a suit. The shoes, they send you there with the cars. I didn't have no money.
And did that spur you on to make Brotherhood?
No.
Did the bank account get low again, and you were like, I know, I'll do a third
movie? They wanted me to do. Adulthood came out and made like 3.3 million in the box office and was made for 1.2. And the studios. By the way, I don't get that money. The studios get that money. That's how distribution works. And they were all ecstatic, and they were like, do a third film, and I was like, no. Now, I'm definitely not doing it. You guys, after Kidulthood, we made Adulthood because I felt like I wasn't getting opportunities. But now, after Adulthood and winning the BAFTA, there was suddenly more opportunities. So I got put in Centurion. I was doing the different acting. People weren't just thinking Doctor Who. I was getting different roles. But as a filmmaker, like, we made 4321. I wrote Fast Girl. Like, things were Stories 24. Things were just, I was doing different things. I was in a Stories 24's fighting a monster. It's like, how many black guys did you see in this country fighting monsters? Like, do you know what I mean? It sold in like, in Asia, in Hong Kong, in like Korea, places where They don't, like, kidulthood and adulthood, like, in the UK, we think, oh, man, they're big films. In Asia, they're not buying that film. Stories 24, everyone was, like, laughing. He's fell off, he done some sci-fi fighting a monster. What's wrong with him, blah, 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 blah. That film sold like you would not believe. Like, it done American sales. It was China, Hong Kong. Like, I've got the posters, like, all the different posters. That film sold because there was a monster in it.
Because didn't you get offered a massive deal to make quite a few films? Like, was it 5 to 10 film deal? And
No, I wish, no.
No?
Never
Someone
got
told
that
me
deal. They're giving
No?
you wrong information there.
Okay, cool, fair enough. So how did those movies come about?
Those movies came about, like I said, because the back of adulthood. And then 4321 did well as well. That made like $1 million box office here, which wasn't near adulthood, but is enough to help a distributor. It sold in America. It sold in a lot of countries, mainly because there was 3 white girls and Shanika in there. So like immediately, man, you got to understand how this business works. So people are laughing. Like, distribution is about sales. You're going to get your film funded by where they think they can sell the movie. If you do a film they don't think they can sell, that film's not getting made. Because if your budget is like, for example, 2 million, for example, and the actors that you've got in your film and the sales that your film can garner, they go, we reckon with all the actors you've got, we sell this around the world, we reckon, and there's agencies that do this, we reckon this film will get about 1.2. How are you going to get £2 million to fund your film if they reckon they can only sell it for 1.2? It's not going to happen. So you need to think about casting, you need to think about what you're going to do, you need to think about how you're going to get around that sort of thing. You can lower the budget, sure, but then can you make the film for that money? You know, so those films all came off the back of the success of adulthood. Then 4321 was successful. That film sold like you wouldn't believe. Stories 24 sold like you wouldn't believe. Didn't do any business here. And a lot of people was like, ha, 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 ha. And all the time I'm like, what? You don't know what you're talking about.
There you go.
Anomaly didn't really make money here, but sold US, sold, you know. These are tiny British films that are getting on the cinema screen in the US. You know what I mean?
How do you go about budgeting, getting funding for these movies? Because I know you said you found an investor for Kidulthood, but a lot of people want to know, like, where do you go to do that? Who are these investors? How do you find them?
I didn't find the investor. We had a producer that had an investor. Like, it's difficult.
It's all about contacts.
It's about contacts. It's difficult to find. It's about contacts and it's about being smart. For example, if I go back to the sales number, if you know your film's only going to sell around 1.2 and you've had a proper sales agency tell that, then you want to make it for 800. Because you want to show them, if this fails and we sell it, we've got numbers that say you're probably going to get 1.2. That means if we're only spending 800, you're going to start seeing, like, you need to be smart. That's the smart way to do things.
And how did you learn all of this?
By trial and error, by mistakes, by making mistakes. That's why I'm here, so you guys don't make the same mistake.
What's the biggest mistake that you've made that you've really learned, like, a powerful lesson from?
Being a producer before I really knew what producing was doing. So, like, on 4321, I was a producer by name. And I was like, yeah, I'm a producer, and I was doing stuff. But the real producers that were, like, doing the budget and all that kind of stuff, they didn't pay me. I didn't get paid on that film. So that film came out, Universal, done big sales on everything. I ain't seen no money yet to this day. And that was the thing that made me go, you know what? You can't be having these people saying they're producing and you actually don't know what you're doing. So you need to learn. Because if you learn, then this kind of shit can't happen to you.
So when you're an actor and then you become a producer on a movie, what's your added responsibility?
There's so much responsibility. But like I said, it's all necessity. So the writing came about because I felt like I wasn't going to get the roles I wanted or that I deserved, so I started writing them. The directing came about because the director of Kidulthood didn't want to do adulthood, so they said, well, there's no movie. And I'm like, why am I letting people control my destiny? So essentially, they gave me a chance to direct it. I directed it. The producing came about because I got robbed on a film, really. So I was like, that's because I don't know what I'm doing. I can walk around, I'm a producer, but I don't know what I'm doing. So you have to learn what you're doing so that can't happen. So then from that point on, that wasn't happening. That didn't happen again.
So you've been named as one of the most prolific black actors in the UK, and you mentioned that making your own films has a big part to play in your career, and casting yourself in those roles that you wanted to play. Did you always want to cast yourself in that? Did you make them all around you, or have you kind of been tempted to take a step back and not be so involved on the big screen?
I mean, it's a little bit of I mean, one thing makes the other. Like when you said me named as one of the most prolific, I was named as the most prolific.
To be fair, it does say the on my sheet, so I just went on a tangent
trying to bring
there.
up some
My
other
bad.
people. Yeah. The most prolific Black British actor of the last 10 years in British films. And that when I was young, I was always like, I want to be number one. I want to be number one. So then to get there was like, well, I still want to work. I don't want to. No one wants to rest on their laurels. But what was the second part you saying?
I was saying about when you've cast yourself in the roles.
Yeah, so like being in films like Stories 24 or The Anomaly and that, like, of course I don't always want to put myself in the films. That's not the end goal. We just did a film called 10 by 10, which I wrote for myself years ago. But it doesn't benefit me as a producer to put myself in the film. So Luke Evans is in the film. Because Luke Evans is in Beauty and the Beast right now. He has a lot more value than me. So there's no point in me saying, I'm going to do it just for my own personal gain, when actually the bigger picture would be, well, you can be in this film and the film can be here. Or you can step back, put Luke Evans in the film and the film's there. And as a company and as a producer, that's going to help you more than just trying to hold on to some role.
Go back 10 years, would you still have made that same decision?
Yes.
Okay.
But the reason I'm in films like Story 24 and The Anomaly is because with sci-fi, like, if I was not putting myself in those films, I would never be cast in those movies. And it's not about ability. It's about if casting directors came across those scripts, they're not automatically going to think, the lead character could be a black character. Because they're non-specific roles. They were just characters. But just characters always tend to go not our way. So I'm like, you know what? In America, they do it. Will Smith produces. He's like, I'm in the movie. I'm doing that too.
And that's what you would put out there for other people to start doing as well.
100%. Create your own stuff. If I didn't write Kidnap Hood off my own back, then I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
However, what advice would you give to the next generation of young black actors that they just want to act? They're not really interested in being writers or, directing to secure the roles that they want. They just want to act. What advice can you give those people?
I would say even if you don't want to do the other roles, understand them. Know what the people around you are doing at all times. When you're on set, make sure you know what shots the DP's doing. Make sure you know if he's covering you here or if he's down here. Because it all informs the way you're going to perform and what you're going to do. And I would say, like I said earlier, just outwork everyone. Outwork everyone. Watch everyone, learn from everyone, and outwork them. And outworking them is as simple as, like, you might have a line, just one line, but I need to know that you've said that line in every different way you can say it. You put the emphasis on every different word until you found the way that you think is the right way to say it. But if the director says change it, you're able to change it because you know what you've done.
So put the work in at every single level.
At every single level, at all times. And it's a lot of sacrifice as well. Like, I know friends of mine that were always like, you never come out, you never do this. And it's not that I want to be antisocial, but like I said, those friends are not going to pay my bills. So for me, it was always about, how do I progress? How do I get to a point where I can pay my own bills? You know what? Once I've got my bills covered, I'll come out with you. We can go have a drink. You're buying, but we're getting out.
So I just want to take a quick look at your career. I want you to share with me with everyone, something that you've learned, enjoyed, or a story that you remember from each of these roles and during the process of making them. So let's take a look at Doctor Who.
Doctor Who, I was the first black companion on that show, in all ever. Which
round of applause for that, I think.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to clap. We're living it now, so it's not important. But in lots of years' time, people will be like, okay, well, he was the first. Now we've had Freema, we got the girl Pearl Mackie's in it now. Like, I was the first. You know what I mean? So I just enjoyed that job. I thought Doctor Who was like a cool show. It's a mainstream show, and the chance to be in it was something that I couldn't really pass up. So I just enjoyed it.
Fast Girls.
Fast Girls. First ever British film with 4 black women as the lead roles. Ever. Again, everyone's like, whatever. But you know what? In a few years' time, that's going to be in
How did you get the distribution on that one?
Well, here's the thing. I didn't produce that film. I just wrote it. Damien Jones, who also did Kidulthood and Adulthood, is a very well-known producer. He does stuff now like The Iron Lady and Belle and all those kind of things there. So he was already like on the right. So he really produced it. But, you know, sales-wise, it was difficult to get made. But, you know, a lot of those girls now are off doing really big things, which is amazing.
4, 3, 2, 1.
4, 3, 2, 1. I learned a lot about that. Battles, you know, fighting your battles. Obviously, you know, I put Shanika in there. Shanika was in Adulthood, but they want, like, there were certain people that wanted it to be just 4 white girls, and I had to really, really battle to get Shanika in there. And I'm glad I did. But that was a learning experience apart from the fact I didn't get paid on the film as a separate thing, but actually making the film, I really enjoyed making the film and just fighting those creative battles, learning what battles to fight. And that was one I'm really proud of, and I think she did great in that, and it was good to see her up there with like Emma Roberts and Tamsin and those guys, and you know, I think that film is one of the reasons she still works today.
So you said about your first producer credit, you didn't actually really produce. Ashley Walters, who I interviewed in the last Your Cinema screening, he credited you with being the most hard-working producer now in the UK.
I love Ash. I do love Ash, man. I don't know. You know what? Again, it's about, I don't watch what people are doing. So for me, I'm just trying to work hard, but I don't know if I'm the hardest working. I just know I work as hard as I can. I don't know if I'm the hardest working because I'm not watching what you're doing, because that just distracts me from what I'm doing. So all I would say to you guys is just do your thing and work as hard as you can. Don't ever be like, right, how come that person's doing that? Because that only gets in your mind, that only distracts you. You know, you might think, nah, how come he's doing better? No one's doing better. You got your path. You have your path and you have your ability and you have your work rate. And the more you put in, the more you'll get out. So I love him for saying that. I don't know if it's true. I know that I work hard, but I'm not watching what those people are doing. I'm just doing what I'm doing. So. And
I think that goes for every part of this creative industry, both on camera and behind the scenes.
Yeah, because if you're an actor and you're looking at your friend and you're like, right, how come he's in that job and you can't do that. It would drive you mad. You just go, you know what, this is my path, this is what I'm doing. If he got that, he was meant to get it. If I was meant to get it, I would have got it. But you know what? He can be your target. Just put him on the wall.
Just quickly before we go to the Q&A, speaking of you and Ashley, you've got a new show coming out on Sky. Tell me about that quickly.
I can't really tell you too much about that.
Please.
But I can't really tell you too much about that. But
Ashley told me a little bit, but
I know
not all of these people were here.
I saw the video. We've created a show. Ashley and I have created a show that Sky have greenlit. And I feel like it's a coup because for many years, I feel like there's been an intrinsic sort of, people have tried to keep us apart. You know, you're stronger when you're together. He's still got to pay his bills, I still got to pay mine, but as a unit, we're stronger when we are together. That doesn't mean we have to be in each other's pocket, but it's like, yo, I've heard about this thing. I auditioned for it, you should audition for it. Not like, what you been auditioning for? Nothing, bruv, don't worry. Like, no, we're stronger. If I don't get it, I want one of my friends to get it. You know what I mean? And we've created this show together, and I feel like over the 8, because I've known Ashley since like 99. People don't realize that because we're not like hanging out and blah, blah, blah. I've known him since, we did a short film in like 1999, maybe 2000, but around that time. So we've known each other a long time. And then there was Bullet Boy and Kidnap Hood, and people have tried to play us off against each other for many years. But we've grown up. We're OGs, and we've created this show. And currently, I mean, you know, we're not shooting till like near the end of the year, but Sky have greenlit it, and it's gonna be, as you young people say, it's lit. Is that what young people say these days? So. I don't know. Like it's different. It's different. Nothing's been seen like this show before, and I feel like it's gonna be something special.
I asked him, so I'll ask you because I'm sure everyone out there's minds are going. Is your production company taking kind of submissions for people for the show? Or is it all going
for the
Sky?
show?
Yeah.
Oh, for the show? Well, Sky's in control of the show, but I mean, like, I'm always open. Like, if once I know the casting's going, then I'll make sure that people know about it so that people will have an opportunity. I'll make sure, because I've always done that. We always give opportunities with our projects. And even though I'm not control of this, it's Sky. Excuse me. It's Sky. I can make sure that, well, no, we need to look here, we need to look here, we need to look here. So I'll always do that.
There we go. Right, have you all got questions? I'm sure you have. So just stick your hand in the air and I will bring the mic or someone.
Are you running up the stairs? Yeah, you're
No,
taking the mic.
I had that moment and then I changed my mind and then I looked. So just pop your hand up, I'll select you and then the mic will come over to you.
Hi, Noel. I just wanted to just ask, you mentioned earlier that you were mentoring, I think, a guy called Stevie. How do people like ourselves go about finding somebody to mentor us? Because I know it's quite hard.
Well, you know why? Here's the thing. You know what I like is initiative. I'm not volunteering my services. I got a missus that I need to sort out. I got 3 kids. You know what I mean? I got 3 children. I got shit to do. And I get requests and emails every day. What I loved was that this guy showed tenacity and like didn't stop to the point where the girl that works for me was like, you know what, this, you should maybe read this. So I was like, all right, let me read it. And I read the email and all that. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll meet this guy because he got a good story and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to out his business, but I like the initiative. I like one time when we did adulthood, there was a guy that turned up and wanted to run a job. He just turned up. So the crew were like, man, there's a guy that's turned up, he wants to be a runner on the thing. I was like, it's ridiculous, send him home, this is nonsense. Next day, turns up again. I'm like, why is this guy turning up, man? He's not like a criminal. No, he wants a job. Like, there's no job, there's no job, send him home. Turns up again the next day. By the end of the week, one of the runners either got fired or left. I don't know, I wasn't in charge, but they left. This guy turned up again. And then they were bringing in CVs for new runners. And they were like, these are the CVs for the new runners. And someone was like, that guy's here again. But you know who I gave the job to? I gave it to that guy because he was showing me that he wanted. I'm looking at CVs. This guy was turning up, no training, no nothing, was turning up, was like, I'm willing to run. And he ended up working on the film. And I like that initiative. I like that people take an opportunity and they run with it. They don't just sit and wait for things. So how you get mentors, basically, is the long rambling answer to your question is, like, take the initiative. Contact people. Go after them. Don't contact me. He's booked. I'm booked. I'm done. Like, you know what I mean? With my children and I got no more time. And don't make him your target neither. He's cool. Like, but I'm just saying, like, use your initiative. You know what I mean? You just watch Reggie's film, holler at Reggie. You might not get an answer, but you might. You heard Ashley Walter's name, holler at Ashley. Like, there's people that I've worked with that I've helped put on and are just flying. Arnold Oching's flying. Bashi, Ashley Tom flying. Like, some of these guys will be willing to do that. It's not like we have to be with you every day. It's just advice and stuff like that, And there's other people that won't. I don't know the answer, but I just know he hollered, I'm there.
You're going to get 2 for the price of 1.
Cool.
You spoke a lot, I suppose, about, well, just from listening to you, it's quite a kind of male-dominated environment. What advice would you give to, I suppose, aspiring female writers, directors, especially, I suppose, black female writers and directors?
Do you know what? In the years of equality, I can't change. The advice is the same. Like, I don't want to make out like, oh yeah, there's some special advice for girls, flatter your eyelids. Nah, the advice is the same. Outwork everyone and do your thing. You're going to have your own challenges. But at the end of the day, like, that's the whole point. Whether you're disabled, whether you're black, woman, whatever, like, there's always going to be challenges. But you have to look at it as like, I don't look at, some people go, oh, the glass is half full. Or the glass is half empty. I think both of those things are kind of like a kind of weird negative thing because it's like, yeah, it's half full, but it's not fully full. No, I don't look at it like that. The glass is half empty. It should be. There's water in the glass, is my point. There's water in the glass. You know what I mean? So work with it. Work with what you got. Overcome your challenges and do the best you can. And obviously, I'm not a woman as well, so I don't always quite fully understand the challenges that you go through. As much as I try to be a man that does understand that stuff, I can't fully understand because I'm not a woman. But you have to just outwork everyone and do your thing. And when those challenges come, you have to find your way to work around them, because there's always going to be prejudice. There's always going to be people looking down at you or going, all right, love, get me the tea, and you need to be like, hold on, you need to watch who you're talking to, because you wouldn't speak to so-and-so like that, so don't speak to me like that, or whatever it is. So there's no different advice. And look at people like Michaela Cole. Like, Michaela Cole is just killing it. Just killing it. There's a black woman who's just doing it. And like, you know, people aren't really giving her the credit I think she deserves. I know she's got 2 TV BAFTAs or whatever like that, but I still don't think like she's getting the credit she deserves. We need to look at that, and you not need to do that. Emulate that, copy that, do your own thing.
I was actually going to mention Michaela because, like, I'm wondering why it's like the 90s in America, especially black, black rom-coms are like with the shit. Do you know what I mean? And in this country...
Sorry, I did what? The America?
In America, they've got black rom-coms back in the 90s, and they were on point, and we still have not in this country had a black, cast that's a rom-com or even a comedy, and I'm just like baffled, like, when is it going to happen?
We've had a few comedies recently.
But why do you think rom-coms...
Sales.
But what do you think...
Sales.
What do you think a new filmmaker can do to capture that audience?
You got to have the cast, man.
Yeah, Chewing Gum's already kind of done it for us a little bit already.
TV,
We've got like money, we've got people watching us now, so that's one way we can.
Well, TV's a sort of a, once you get past the commission, is an easier route, I guess. But again, it's sales dominated. The reason that we're not seeing these films, is because you have to pull in the cast to make the sales internationally. This thing is all based on sales, or the package has to be so strong for the UK that they can do it. Like even like Brotherhood and stuff like that, which I didn't want to do for like 8 years, 9 years or whatever until we did it. It's not built on international sales. It's built on the fact that it's so strong in the UK they can justify the budget. So when you look at a film, and now the distributors feel like they've got a brand. They feel like Hood, it's a brand. So like it's like the M on McDonald's. It's more than just a quotation mark black or urban film. It's a brand that when people hear the brand, they go, oh, I know that brand. I'm gonna go see that. If someone goes, yeah, let's go get a Woolly Wizard burger, you're like, what? But they're like, I'll go McDonald's, or let's go Gourmet Burger. Okay, yeah, I know that. So they feel it's a brand. The reason we're not getting these films is because, again, unfortunately, unless you are the big names, like your David Oyelowo, Idris, or my man John Boyega now, or even this guy Daniel Kaluuya, who's in the last year was just, right? If you're not pulling in all those names, or a vast majority, how are they going to sell the film? They look at it as like, how am I going to sell this film? Because Eastern Europe ain't got none of us there, or very few, they ain't buying it. China, Japan, Asia, they're not buying it. A lot of the Middle East, they're not buying it. So you're left with America, Australia, and all that. And the sales that you would get, unless you got those guys in the film, cannot justify the price of the budget. And whether it's rom-com, thriller, drama, whatever, that is a state of the situation. You literally would need to have John, Daniel, Gugu, like Naomi. You literally would need to have those people for them to go, the sales are looking good here for the films to happen. And if you don't have those people, you're resigned to making a film at really, really low budget, which doesn't give you what you need to get the film at a quality that will get pushed. So it's a really weird circle. It's a really weird circle, and it's really hard to get out of it. But it's coming. It's coming. We're creating. Look at John. Look at Daniel. Look at Michaela. Like, we're creating our stars that will make this happen, because they're becoming big on a world stage, which will mean that at some point, you guys, or one of you guys, might be the writer or director of that film. Like, I'm old. Like, the stuff that I've done has helped you lot. Like, it will happen. It will come.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm out of here.
Just got the mic. Well, yeah, thanks for obviously coming. I'm over here, yeah. Big respect.
Where is?
Yeah.
Yo, how you doing, man?
Yeah. Me and my friends, everyone, we love your stuff, and obviously
thank you
for doing this kind of stuff. But yeah, I was gonna say, you mentioned that you made Kidnap Hood because like you could relate to that kind of lifestyle you were living
at the time, yeah.
Yeah, at the time, that's what I mean. there's been a lot of criticism, obviously, on people making those sort of like black urban films
Yeah.
and stereotypes. But there's people like, I don't know, like me who are young and we're still coming up around that lifestyle, and we feel like we still want to tell that same story.
Yeah.
Like, would you still encourage us young people to say that
100
story?
Of course,
even
you
though-
got to. Yeah. Huh? No, of course I do. You got to. We got to tell our story, our experience. They can't be beating us up in the street and shooting us and not behaving and not expect us to want to talk about that. Like in America, no one complained when there was Boys in the Hood, New Jack City, Juice, blah blah. No one complained. But yet when we're doing it over here, suddenly it's like, oh, there's one, and now they're glamorizing and it's all about this. It's not. Firstly, that's the only films they want to make because they feel like they can sell them. But secondly, like if it's an experience, it's an experience. I'm not saying that we don't have the experience of doctors or lawyers or being middle class. I'm middle class, bro. I'm middle class now. Like I'm not lying. Like I got 3 children. I live in Kensington and Chelsea. Like I'm middle class. When I was growing up, I wasn't. So I wrote about my experience. We still have that experience. These things still happen. We still get stopped by police for no reason. Like, right, of course you write about it. You know, and don't let people tell you you're glamour. It's not glamorizing. You know, they'll always try and spin it like we're trying to glamorize it and make us feel bad about wanting to tell our experience. But this is our experience. Until it's commonplace that like 50% of us are doctors and lawyers and all that kind of stuff, we do have those experiences. But in the reality is, it's for them on the films, it's so rare that you go to them with a lawyer script. They're like, again, you gotta have John. You gotta have those guys. You know what I mean? And they will do it, and they can do it, and that's what's being great. You know, John's in Pacific Rim. He's in this new Catherine Bigger. Like, he will do it. He will do it. But, you know, for the regulars, it's like we need to tell our experience. So don't feel bad about writing something that might be perceived as, by some quarters, as, oh, it's negative for this, that, it's the other. It's like, bro, if you're actually getting a film made, and you're not glamorizing, but you're telling a story and you're telling a true experience, and make your film.
Thank you, man. Thanks for that.
How you doing, Noel? You're right.
I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a few questions before, but I remember I went to a seminar at Goldsmiths University a few years back, and I asked you some questions then, so most of them I didn't have anything fresh to ask.
Cool.
But one thing that came to my mind was Troupe. Would you look to turn Troupe eventually into a TV series or franchise?
Troupe, for those of you who don't know, I created a comic book called The Troupe, and it got made into a comic book. So it's now a graphic novel. I got a graphic novel out on various comic book shops or bookshops and shelves and online and blah blah blah. I mean, yeah, that wasn't my plan. Like, I wasn't trying to reverse engineer a TV show by making a comic book or anything like that. I literally wanted to make a comic book since I was young. So, again, it's going back to your drive and your ambition. I wanted to do it, so I did it. It's just as simple as that. But now that it's made, yeah, maybe. It's not in the immediate plans, but it's definitely in the plans. You know, but we haven't spoken to studios or anything like that. It's just kind of there and something that could be made. But, you know, when you got shows with history, like the Marvel shows, it's difficult to kind of break that market. So you want to really try and identify how it's different. But yeah, it's something that I'd think about.
Cheers, man.
Cool.
Hi, Noel. Thanks for coming and speaking to us today.
Thanks for being here.
Firstly, that I'm a complete film industry novice, so this question might sound a little bit silly. But I noticed that when you were speaking about international markets, that you mentioned all of the continents that don't contain majority black people.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about the West Indies and Africa.
Yes.
How do we leverage those growing economies and the stories that they want to hear to kind of bypass some of the issues that you have in terms of selling films and stories in European markets who they don't want to hear.
You don't want to hear our story. Yeah, that's a good question. West Indies is not big enough, so that's the first thing. Is that whole region, our whole Caribbean region, all the islet is not big enough. It's not big enough to make a dent in terms of what. So obviously Africa is big enough, and but they got their own stories, they got their own industry. You know what I mean? And a pretty big and strong industry, I'm understanding as well in some sections, and in other sections, man's got more things to worry about than going cinema. You know what I mean? And so, you know what I mean? Like it's Like we're all sitting here with like knives, with trainers and all that. Like some people, it's hard for them, and there's not enough of the cities that you would need on the continent to make it worth the while of our films when they have their own stories as well and their own experiences. And that's the difficult thing. Even like for every time we do a film like we do and we go out, it's gonna sell in Brazil. Brazil's like, okay, that was a cute English film, but we got City of God. That's our reality. So why they watching our film? They might watch it, and like we watch the American stuff, but the American ideology is everywhere. But like, and we watch City of God, sure we do, but for them, that's their kidhood. That's their boys in the hood. Why are they going to really pay attention to our thing? It might come out on DVD, but it's not going to hit the cinemas like we want it to when they got City of God. And that's the key. If you're not hitting the big cinemas, you're not getting the big deals, and you're coming on home entertainment, there's not enough for the distributor to grab onto. And no, that's really the issues. So it's... I mean, I would love it if we made a film with our experience and all the Africans and all the West Indians and all that were watching it. Then we'd be laughing, but it just doesn't happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. I thought, where is this guy? Sorry. Yeah.
Right, cool. So you've been doing this thing a long time, yeah? And as an actor, when you first start out and it's hard being seen, you're not really working, and they're telling you go drama school, you don't really want to go drama school, you can't afford it, whatnot. What keeps you going when your family and friends are telling you, get a normal job, like, it's hard? Like, what keeps you going? Because, like, with acting, it's like, it's not like music where you can make a tune and there's a chance it can blow up. It's straight. You get into something, it's good for you, it's not. So what keeps you going? That's my question.
That is a good question. Because I've been there. Like I couldn't afford drama school. I couldn't afford any real drama places. I guess there's no right answer for this because, and I had the guys in the barbershop telling me like, come on, bruv, like this acting thing's not gonna happen, don't do it, blah, 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 you're wasting your time. I remember the conversations. And I'm one of those people that remember things because I remember years later when they're like, yo, give me a role in your thing. And I was like, yo, weren't you the guy that told me? I'm one of those guys, I don't forget nothing. You have to believe, like I knew. And this is it's not a logical answer. It's not a quick fix answer where it's like, do X, Y, and Z. It's like, but I knew. I knew that there was more for me. I knew that I could achieve more. I knew that, I grew up with just my mum. My dad weren't about in Labrador Grove, which might be trendy now, but at the time wasn't trendy. And I saw my friends doing badness and go in jail, like, but I knew there was more for me. I can't even explain it. If you know, like some of you be like, yeah, I know too, but you might not really know. And some of you just know. And I knew there was more. And I knew what I could achieve. And I knew that if I kept going, I would get there because I knew that I could see that nobody was outworking me. I could see it. I could see that nobody had the drive that I had. I could see that when I first sent out I remember when I sent out my CV and my headshot to agencies or whatever, I bought this book. Me and my friend bought this book called Contacts. You know, and everyone told you, to be honest, the agents, if they're not going to respond, they're not going to respond regardless. But the book has all the... And I remember a week later, I said to my friend, have you done it yet? And he was like, yeah, no, brother, I'm doing it. In that week that he said I'm doing it, I had got my headshots done and I had sent out 50 VHS, it was still videos of like me doing madness and my headshot to try get an agent. And he hadn't done it in a week. And it was only a week, but that immediately told me he does not have the drive. He does not have the drive that I have. He does not have the ability. He doesn't get up in the morning before everyone else, go gym, come home and be doing what he's doing before most of his friends get up. When I do that. And so this is not really a thing where I can say to you, it's intangible. It's something that you just have to know. You just have to know. I remember I got offered a soap. By this point, I started acting and I got offered a soap. Family Affairs. And it was like it was like £1,000 a week. And I told my mum, I said, Mum, I've been offered family affairs, it's £1,000 a week. Lord Jesus! Yes! Yes! Like she's, Lord, thank you. You know, bro, she's on it because she's a nurse. She saves lives. And she's only getting 26 grand a year back then. And I'm telling her I'm going to play the fool on TV and get £1,000 a week. But I told her I'm not doing it. And when I told my mum I wasn't doing it, she said, Lord Jesus, like what? She couldn't believe it. But you know why I didn't do it? Because I knew. I knew that I had more. I knew that I was here to do something, and that was not it. And within 2 years, I'd written the film. Within 2 years, I was in Doctor Who. Within 2 years, I was in Vida Semper. I knew. And you just have to know. And that's the best answer I could give. Like, it's intrinsic within you. You even know, and don't fool yourself. If you know, you know. And if not, then you can pretend and you can like acting, or you can be an actor. And there's a difference. I know lots of people that like acting. Yeah, I'm an actor. I like acting. No. You're either an actor or you're not. And inside you know. That's a very deep answer. It's a good ending. But we're not ending. We got one more.
I respect that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right, so do you have your, it's a double barrel one, do you have your own production company? And,
Yes.
All right, if so, what
Next.
further
Joe. Yeah, go on.
what further pitfalls or advice could you give? Like, obviously, we can like Google what production is, but from the word of experience.
Yes, we have a production company. Make sure contracts are iron tight. People are very shifty in this business. Make sure contracts are iron tight. You know, sometimes you put people on and all of a sudden they're acting like they're better than you. You know what I mean? Just make sure your contracts are iron tight at all times. Like it's business, not friendship. There you go.
All right, thanks, man. Yeah, that was a really great question and answer before. I don't even know.
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, I had to go after that. But my one's a bit sneaky. It's just about Star Trek, really. And
okay.
Were you offered that role? Were you pursuing that, and your experience during that, and how is it to having black performers in sci-fi big franchises like that? It's a big thing. So
yeah. And now John's the lead in Star Wars. Isn't it amazing, man? I love that guy. Amazing. Star Trek. So it was an audition. I literally. It's weird, man. Sometimes you do great auditions and you don't get them. But like I said to you earlier, always leave knowing you smashed it. But this one in particular, Star Trek, I tried to go to the taping place. There's a place called Spotlight and there's other places, and they were all full up. I couldn't do it, so I ended up doing it in my kitchen, by the fridge, and the fridge was buzzing. And I was vexed. I was pretty vexed because I was like, I couldn't get into Spotlight. I had to say, LA was like, we need it back tomorrow at this time. And I did it by the fridge with my missus reading off lines, and she's a terrible actress. She's not an actor at all, so it's just terrible. It's like, I'm doing my lines. She's like, and then the thing was like, so I was like, there's no way I'm getting this job. There's no way. Sent the tape off Vex, sent it off Vex, emailed it off Vex. Vex, I'm like, JJ, Vex, he's not going to give me this thing. And then I got the job. It's just one of those things. I feel like he, as you know, JJ Abrams and those guys, they like a lot of the English shows like Doctor Who and blah, blah, blah. So I think when he saw the tape, he already was on the Sherlock thing because Benedict was in that one. And he saw the tape and he must have been like, yo, that's Mickey. I'm gonna let this guy in. And he said that he liked the tape. I thought it wasn't a great tape, but luckily I got the role. And I mean, you can't fathom. It's just amazing. Amazing to be on a production that big and to watch a director like him and learn and just see how he handles himself and see how he conducts himself and just learning from him. And it was amazing to be on a film that big. You know, the set was bigger than this whole room. It was like 5 of these rooms. I was walking down this set with a big green screen. Just unbelievable. So enjoyed it.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's quite interesting how I think some people think it's only difficult for darker skin tones, but I don't think it is. I think it's equally difficult, man. Like, we've still got our struggles, man. Even if you're light skinned, you've still got your struggle, like, as well.